The man, the myth, the legend, Dale is finally back, and we're going to hear his rookie takes. He's going to break down all the rookies with me here today. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark, and Dale is finally back for an episode. I might have to record another solo one later this week, but we've got one more week of his plays, and then he's finally free. Finally.
I'm free at last.
Free at last, man. But like you guys have hopefully listened to, I broke down the first couple rounds of the rookies after the draft last week, or a week and a half ago now, I think, and or 2 weeks almost, basically. But I wanted to get Dale's takes and hear his thoughts on some of these rookies, and we're going to talk about some of the guys we didn't get to when I was recording round one and day one and day two recaps. Some of those guys, the Troy Franklins, a lot of the running backs went on in round 4 on day 3. And I want to get some of the thoughts and the opinions on these. And we're going to break it down with Dale here, and we're going to have a good time talking over all these guys. We're going to give a brief change to our post-draft rankings. We're going to go a little bit position by position. We'll go quickly. Our thoughts on a lot of these guys, and we'll just kind of talk about how we've changed on them positionally post-draft. And we're going to get Dale's thoughts, and it's going to be a good time. So thank you guys if you're new for checking out the channel. We appreciate you guys. If you can, please like, comment, and subscribe on the video and on the channel. We're going to be putting out a lot more content here this off season, and I'm excited. It's going to be a fun one. This rookie draft feels like one of the best in a long time. It's into the 3rd round where I'm still excited about rookie picks, which is crazy. There's times where you're in the 2-5 and I just don't care anymore, and it's like 3-5. Is my guy gonna fall? I don't know. I have no idea. But how are you feeling about the rookies, man?
I will say that in one league I don't hardly have any picks, so I haven't been as excited for that league, which really sucks. Like I have a 5th round pick and that's it, and it's horrible, and I'm kind of waiting around, and it sucks, and I'm seeing all these good players go off the board. I'm trying to trade some of my aging stars a little bit, and nobody's wanting to bite, and it's not as fun. But overall, like, I am really excited about these rookies. I think going back to the I'd say like the 2020 draft, that had Burrow, that had Justin Jefferson in it, and all of those players, Tua, Herbert, I kind of feel that's somewhat similar to that draft, having that excitement, with Jonathan Taylor, even Clyde was there, Dobbins and all that. So, I'm feeling some of those juices, going, and I think this class is going to be very similar in talent with that.
Yes, and it is exciting. You had 6 quarterbacks go in the first round. I think it was 7 wide receivers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
that went in the first round, and then you had a ton on day 2. The running backs all fell, but the running backs, man, we'll get into them here in a minute. But people are drafting them so highly, and I'm not gonna lie. If I'm not getting Trey Benson or Jonathan Brooks, I am not drafting a single one of these guys, basically, in any of my drafts, which is crazy.
Yes.
So, yeah, the receivers are the receivers. The one thing I'll say about the receivers right now is it's just, man, I don't know if there's so much up in the air with these guys, right, on who's going to be good and who's going to be bad. And, again, you're talking into the mid-second of guys that I've seen go in the first round, and then, I've seen them fall too. So
that's nuts.
It's absolutely wild because nobody knows what to expect. Xavier Worthy, right? Everyone is super excited about him going to Kansas City, but I would not be shocked if he was not even top 5 in this class in terms of production. Brian Thomas too. I would not be shocked if either one of those guys in 5 years' time, you told me they're not even top 5 in this class, just because of how good this class was. So Great class if you have picks. If you don't, it does suck. It does definitely not feel great, but
makes you feel sad. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It does. So
I've had multiple, I think I've had 5 rookie drafts so far. All of them except for 2 leagues. One of them is going to be in like 6 months, so I've got a while
Oh
to.
my gosh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not till right before the season,
that's
but one of
horrible.
them's here
That's
in a
horrible.
couple days, so I got a little bit. I'll have that one done soon. But one of them I had 3 first round picks. I had,
Yeah.
like I got Roma Dunze, I got some of these other guys. One of them I had no picks until the 4th, which was the most painful
Oh,
thing. So
yes. It
yeah,
really is. It really is.
really
Yes.
feeling both sides of that going. Just the FOMO is definitely real in this draft. So hopefully you guys are enjoying your rookie drafts. And if you haven't had them yet, well, today hopefully we can help you guys, give you guys a little bit more insight now that we've had a little bit of time to settle with this and kind of consensus is starting to form a little bit, it feels like, in your rookie drafts. So yeah, I'm excited to talk through these guys here today. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really excited to talk about some of these guys. I think there's a lot of interesting landing spots, and there's a lot that there's not really. I mean, there is a consensus, in the first half of the draft, I would say probably,
Mm-hmm.
but then after that, like there's just a lot of differing opinions.
Yes. Yep. And I probably am one of the most off the wall guys out there, in my opinion on these guys. But yeah. So before we jump into that, if you guys can, please go and follow us on Twitter as well. TDC_Calvin for myself, Dynasty_Dale for Dale over here, and FF After Dark for the podcast. You can find all the stuff that we post. I rarely post on Twitter. I just don't see the point. I'm not a social media guy, It's just kind of it is what it is. But every now and then I do have thoughts, and you guys can hear them over there. But the bigger thing is, again, like I mentioned before, just subscribe to the channel, like, comment on the videos. It just helps with the algorithm, gets it out there to more people so more people see it. But following the channel is going to be the best thing for you so that you can see all the content as we continue to pump it out. I've got all kinds of ideas. Like I'm going to have to start just cranking videos out because I have so much that I want to talk about that has shifted, it feels like, because of these rookies. And it's a very new world out there in Dynasty, it feels like, this year. And if you can navigate the values here this year, you are going to be setting yourself up for success for years to come. So again, thank you guys. If you're new, if you're returning, you guys know we love you guys. So let's get into it. Quarterbacks. Let's jump into these guys. Caleb Williams obviously goes to Chicago. And again,
Yep.
I kind of recapped a lot of this on my solo video, but we're going to get Dale's reaction here. Jaden Daniels, Washington. Drake May, New England. JJ McCarthy to Minnesota. Bo Nix to Denver. Michael Penix, the surprise of all surprises, going to Atlanta. Spencer Rattler goes to New Orleans. Michael Pratt, Green Bay. Joe Milton went to New England in round 6, which is hilarious. It's just such a diverse range of weapons from Drake May to Joe Milton. And then Jordan Travis is another guy. He goes to the Jets as a backup to Aaron Rodgers. What are your thoughts on the quarterbacks? And, let's not get into the Michael Penix thing because I think we can all agree is pretty dumb.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll start there. That was a little surprising to me. Like, I really did not see that coming. I would say I'm shocked by a lot and anymore, but that really shocked me.
Yeah.
And I think it's. I mean, as a team building thing, I think it's a little questionable. Like they said that they're trying to do the Green Bay thing, but Penix is 4 years older than what Jordan Love was, and
Yeah, I get it.
I
Here's the
do,
thing.
but like it's interesting.
I see both sides of it because, like, you see the analytics nerds like, oh, you're never going to be picking this high again, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but I mean, you could have used a guy to, like, here's the biggest, and this is the last rant because I've just heard this so much over the last couple of days and weeks, right? Like, you got the PFFs out there and they're like, from a analytical standpoint, the difference in a linebacker versus a quarterback is so big in terms of your wins above replacement and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's great. If you don't have the quarterback, you already have the quarterback. So this argument is very stupid.
You already
But
paid the quarterback.
at the same time, though, if you want a security blanket for an older Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles tear and everything, getting your guy, I don't hate it. But I think taking him at 8 was dumb, man. You should have traded back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I also think they were trying to jump the Raiders because they probably were going to take.
they were in front of the Raiders. You could have traded back to 11.
I know. Yeah, I don't disagree. But on a different note, I honestly feel that these quarterbacks went kind of where we thought they were going to, except for Penix.
Yeah,
Honestly.
right. I thought
I'm a
Penix
little
was going to go to
surprised.
Denver, to be honest with you. I
That's
heard the
fair.
rumors about
I
Knicks,
mean,
but
yeah, I've been hearing next to Denver, and I'm more surprised that Denver didn't try to trade back. But I think they were worried about the Raiders getting a quarterback and
yeah, that was
and
basically
stuff
in
like
the
that.
division too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Like you don't want to give your yeah. But all in all, I think it was interesting having six quarterbacks in the top 12 picks. I don't think we've really ever seen that, and probably never will again, in my
yeah,
opinion. Probably,
never. There hasn't been six
probably for a
quarterbacks.
while.
There hasn't been six quarterbacks ever taken in the first round. So,
Yeah.
let alone the first
So
half. So,
yeah. So I mean, I would say my favorite quarterback going in, just as an NFL player was Drake May.
yep,
I know people love Caleb Williams,
right.
and he has all the intangibles, but I really like what Drake May has done and what we've seen for him coming out of North Carolina.
Hmm.
I think I feel he's a little bit more polished, a little
Right,
bit. So
right.
I mean, I get nervous when people are playing backyard football all the time, and that doesn't really show me a skill set. That's why I'm really worried about Jaden Daniels. I think people are really hyped about him, and I think it's going to not go super well.
We'll see.
I mean, I don't really foresee him as the Joe Burrow type of what people may think he is coming
Yeah,
out
from
of,
the
LSU.
Heisman and
Yeah,
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 yep.
yeah, come from the Heisman. I don't think he's that super good of a quarterback. I think it was more the wide receivers that were excellent than it was him being, that good in my opinion.
Sure.
So,
So,
I'm yeah, so one quarterback that we haven't really talked about that I'm actually wouldn't be shocked starts sooner than later, like sooner than, a Michael Penix would be Spencer Rattler.
yeah, I don't know. They're
I
paying
I
so
I,
much
I
money to Derek
yes.
Carr. I just don't see
They
it
are.
personally.
They are. I think that's interesting because of how much talent Rattler has.
Yeah.
I know he's an interesting character to say the least, but
Yes, very much
but
so. So from a fantasy perspective, as of right now, this is kind of the consensus in a super flex league. We're going to talk about this in the terms of super flex for the quarterbacks because that's where you can get the real value on these guys and
yeah,
kind of see how people really value them, right? So Caleb Williams, he's either one or two, pretty much
yep,
universally. Him or Marv is one or
yep,
two. Jaden
absolutely.
Daniels is typically the number two off the board. And then I've
Yep,
seen a split, right? I usually see Drake May fall to 5 in Superflex
yep,
leagues or JJ McCarthy go to 5. But sometimes I've seen him fall a little bit further than that, like 6 and 7 or even further, like 8 or 9, depending on what those teams want. You see the Roma Dunzeys. You still see Brock Bowers go up that high. I've seen a couple places where Jonathan Brooks goes as like a top 7 pick, which is crazy to me.
that's nuts.
Um,
That's nuts.
or worthy. It just depends on
All right.
who, but I've seen these two fall. What are your opinions on Drake May and JJ McCarthy? I mean, my my 2 cents is JJ McCarthy has the better landing spot year one,
Yes.
day one.
Yes.
But
Correct.
Drake May is the far superior talent, in my opinion. And
Yes.
I've been really trying to hammer the last couple of years talent over opportunity because, I was one of the guys and, people are going to say, oh, all those other people that drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Jonathan Taylor. It was consensus, guys. It was not just me. It was like
It wasn't right.
75% of the people out there drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Jonathan Taylor. So it wasn't just me.
Yes.
I will admit to it
Yes.
though. I did it. I thought the landing spot was too good to be true. But ever since then, I've kind of learned my lesson of, talent over opportunity. And Drake May, he might be a little bit mediocre this year, but if he can survive, look at CJ Stroud. People are not excited about him last year and then dude
Yeah.
balled out. And I think Drake May could do that. He has a new offensive coordinator, new coaching system. I think that they sneakily got decent weapons on this team for him this upcoming year.
It's not bad.
It's
Yeah.
not bad.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
worse, right? It's not
Yeah, it
elite.
could be a lot worse. Yes. It
Next
could
year
be a
we're
lot
gonna
worse.
draft like Luther Burden and we're gonna have our wide receiver one, and it'll be
That's true.
we'll be back, baby. But no, I think it could be
Oh.
much, much worse. And a lot of people out there are just disregarding Drake May just
Hmm.
because JJ McCarthy has Justin Jefferson. But I just don't love JJ McCarthy as much,
I
but
don't either. I kind of view JJ McCarthy kind of like I do Derek Carr. He's not
yeah.
like I think he can be a decent quarterback. Like it's not a solid quarter. Like a middling.
Mhm.
Between like 15 and 20. Quarterback. But I do see Drake May as a emerging star in my
Right.
opinion. I'm not super happy about it as a Dolphins fan, but as it's for
Right.
just for dynasty. I would personally, I would rather have him over Jaden Daniels. I'm I'm that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah,
I'm really worried about Daniels and how he's gonna do and how he's gonna translate the game.
sure.
But I do understand why people are picking him because of the rushing upside, stuff like
Right.
that. But I also
And
feel
Cliff
May can do
Kingsbury,
some of that.
I think Cliff
Yeah.
Kingsbury is going to be good for him for fantasy. Again, I think there's going to be
Yes.
question
Yes.
marks passing the ball, but from a
Yeah.
fantasy perspective, the reason why I would not say take Drake May over Jane Daniels is just because
Right.
I think in a year's time, Jane Daniels is going to have a very good rushing floor. He's going to be very productive for fantasy football.
Yeah.
And, you know, Drake May is going to be mediocre. In a year's time, if you wanted to trade Jaden Daniels, you could get Drake May plus, right? So that's the only reason why
Oh
I would
yes.
not
Absolutely.
be
Yes.
advocating for that.
And
But
and I do agree with that. I do agree with that concept. I get it. I mean, if you're drafting that high anyways, like you want to take the highest up, it's the highest upside guy.
right.
And that would be
Mhm.
Daniels based on the rushing, stuff like that. But, I think, skill-wise, May is far superior than Daniels.
Yep. Yep. I hear you. So then the biggest drop off, and again, it all kind of depends on your team need. If you really
Hmm.
need a quarterback that can start this year, JJ McCarthy is fine to draft over Drake
Yep.
May. I would still be taking
Absolutely.
Drake May.
Yep.
Generally, I took JJ McCarthy in a league over Drake May just because I needed a guy this year, like because I have a championship roster with potential one hole at quarterback, right? Where I have like Deshaun Watson, I have who's Jordan Love. Like those are my two starters.
Mm,
My
yeah.
third quarterback, I don't have one, and the whole reason why I wasn't able to make a big push in the playoffs last year was because Deshaun Watson went out for the whole year. I had Jordan
Hmm.
Love, didn't have that third guy. So that's why I took JJ McCarthy just in case something like that happens again, right? And that's why I wanted a guy that could produce in year one. So I don't blame anybody for taking JJ McCarthy over Drake May, but I would still, if it's you know, taking team aspect out of it, I would take Drake May just for the talent long term. But
Yes.
again, I
Agreed.
don't blame anybody. The biggest drop off that I think though that I'm seeing is Bo Nix is falling so much further than I think he should. Um, I've seen him go from the 109 right after the draft, and now he's starting to go like the 201, 202, 203. People are really cooling on him. I don't really get why. Like, I
I
liked Bo
mean, I
Nix a
mean,
lot going
yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
So he was my quarterback 4 in this draft class. I liked him a lot. I liked him more than Michael Penix Jr. I just thought he's not an elite guy, but he is more of like a Derek Carr to me than like JJ
Sure.
McCarthy. JJ McCarthy for me is more like a good Daniel Jones. like,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
like
Yeah.
that's how I kind of look at JJ McCarthy. And I don't really like Daniel Jones that much, but JJ McCarthy just reminds me of Daniel Jones. Bo Nix reminds me more of Derek Carr without being such a prima donna, right? So I like Bo Nix. I think that he can be a serviceable quarterback for the NFL for many, many years. And like I think he'll play this year. I think it'll probably take a couple of games. They're gonna work him in, but if by game
It's gonna
week
be
3,
messy,
yeah,
yeah, and it's gonna be messy a little bit, and I do think he's gonna figure it out. I do like Bo Nix as well.
yeah,
I actually got him at the 111 in a
yeah.
draft
So did
I'm
I.
in,
Yep.
so
I
I
took him
I
at
was
111 just
really
because I
yeah
had,
yeah
I wanted
yeah
to.
yeah yeah yeah. I mean I was really happy with that. I mean I had the chance of taking JJ McCarthy at 108, but I ended up trading out of that,
Hmm.
and I got some other pieces I needed. So, but I'm pretty happy with Bo Nix and where he's going. It's the guy after that we're going to talk about, Michael Penix. I think he is like investing in the stock market, I guess, in a
Yeah,
way.
And again, I like Michael Penix, and I think it's a good landing spot with a good coaching staff. The only thing, so here's the biggest red flag with this whole situation that, again, that people don't take into account, because everyone analyzes it for right now. They don't really analyze it for the future and what all it means. If Kirk Cousins goes nuclear this year, right? Like everyone kind of expects him to do. Everyone expects the Atlanta Falcons to win this division and to be a playoff contender and everything like that, right? If that happens, you have a defensive-minded head coach. Zach Robinson, the new OC, is going to be gone. Michael Penix is going to have to learn, like, the guy that is going to come in to replace him is not going to, maybe they'll bring in a guy that's going to, cater to Michael Penix and everything, but it's like, you guys aren't thinking this through. He's going to have a new offensive coordinator, and he's going to have to go through multiple systems. And it's like, it's just not a great system for a rookie to be brought into the NFL in, right? You want him to be able to start with that offensive coordinator and get game reps and all that stuff. So, I get it. I don't hate the pick. I think he can be good for fantasy football, but it's Bitcoin. You're waiting for that to kind of eventually cash out, right? You're just buying it low, and the one thing that's crazy though, I was in a league where it was a clearly tanking team. This team is going for the long haul, right? And they took Michael Penix Jr. over Bo Nix. They took him over, I think JJ McCarthy as well, but like they took him at 108
early,
like 108, and I was like, oh man, like you definitely could have got him in the mid-second, and even then it's rough. But on the flip side though, if Kirk Cousins were to get injured or something bad were to happen where he's not fully healthy with the Achilles, or God forbid the Achilles tears again, look at Cam Akers, you just never know. Man, Michael Penix should have an amazing situation really, really quickly. So I don't hate investing a pick in it as a high-level backup, but at the same time, it could be completely worthless.
I would not be taking him at 108. I think there are much better options. No. In this one draft I'm in, he went at 112. I feel that's that I think that would be the highest I go and get him.
Yeah, and again, I just think
that's
that you can get
top end.
I think you could go and get Jonathan Brooks even in like a super flex, right? And then in a year's time, or Trey Benson or one of these guys, and in a year's time, you could easily trade for Michael Penix, barring 100%. Injury, right? God forbid, again, anything happens to Kirk Cousins. But if nothing happens to Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, in a year's time, you could easily trade Trey Benson for Michael Penix Jr. and, a Blake Corum or Jalen Wright, whoever, pick one of these guys, right? So I don't see the value in it, but he's still going pretty highly in pretty much every draft that I've done so far, which is wild. And then you see the massive fall off, right, to Rattler and Pratt.
Oh,
and these
it's
other
a
guys.
huge fall off. I've been seeing Rattler go off in the end of the third, into the fourth round.
Yeah, even in Superflex, it's crazy. That could be some potential value, like you mentioned earlier. So,
there is for him. I think he is a sneaky stash. Other than that, I don't think there's really any other quarterbacks you really need. Pratt maybe. If you're a degenerate and have a 5-round rookie draft, I'm not touching Joe Milton. I don't think he is the Kirk Cousins to Jaden Daniels RG3.
Right.
I don't really see that. And I don't think Jordan Travis coming off a broken leg is gonna do very much in the NFL. Personally.
Yeah, that's it is what it is. So, all right, let's go to the running backs here. And all right, so Trey Benson is still my number one in this draft class. Goes to Arizona in round 3. People are drafting Jonathan Brooks so freaking high, man. I don't get it.
And I feel people are oddly off of Trey Benson because of James Conner, but
I don't understand why. He's 29.
He's basically an old man and has been an old man for ever since he was drafted.
See,
so
the biggest difference. So Trey Benson has James Conner in front of him. Jonathan Brooks has Chuba Hubbard in a contract year, Miles Sanders in a contract year, Now Rashad Penny in a 1-year deal, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Andy's coming off an ACL tear.
ACL,
So
yeah.
I don't understand the difference in these two. And then pure value wise, like Trey Benson, I was always higher on him anyway.
Yeah.
And he goes to Arizona, which is an amazing landing spot.
It's going to be fantastic because there's a lot of empty targets.
Yeah.
I think
Dale and I were
he's going to
talking
play
about
second
this.
fit. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I mean, though he's gonna play second fiddle to James Conner, I think he's still gonna get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think he could be a sneaky start throughout the year.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And Dale and I were talking about this, and I might have to do a video on Arizona because I was doing some math on it, right? And the math is just insane because last year when Kyler Murray came back, they were averaging about 35 pass attempts per game, about 30 completions, give or take, 27 to 30 completions. On a 17-game pace, he's on pace for 450 completions. 450 completions next year. Maybe let's round that down. Let's say it's a little bit more inefficient. Let's say 400. They have Marvin Harrison Jr., they have Michael Wilson, they have the two running backs, Trey Benson and James Conner, and Trey McBride. And then who was the third one?
Greg Dortch.
Greg Dortch.
Blame on, baby.
Yeah, baby. But like they have we were reading the names of the guys behind these two, and these three receivers.
It's people that you've literally never heard of in your life.
So let's say Marvin Harrison gets 150 completions next year, guys. 150 completions.
Completion.
Yeah. So Kyler Murray is on pace.
Are you talking about are you talking about like receptions or targets?
Yeah, completion or reception. Sorry, you're right. Okay. Kyler Murray is on pace for 400 completions. If Marvin Harrison gets 150 receptions, not targets, let's say he gets 200 targets and 150 receptions, which is insanely high. That is an insane high number. That's like the record, right? Pretty close.
Yeah, that would be a record. That would be pretty close to a record, yeah.
Michael Thomas has the record. I think it's like 154 or something like that. So, right? If he were to almost break the record, by far the rookie record, right? That still leaves 250 to go to Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. It's nuts, man.
See, if Marv had 150 receptions, that would be a NFL record.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So I think
it's not possible. It's not going to happen. But I'm just saying, there's a lot to go around.
I can see him getting 150 targets with
110 receptions. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is realistic. And that's I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, you put it on the high end, and there's still so many completions to go around here that Trey Benson could easily have in his rookie year 50 completions or 50 receptions, right? I
feel that's way high. I would be happy if he got 50 targets personally.
He could easily. I'm just saying.
I would think that would be promising.
Who's getting the targets though? That's the whole point of this, and that's why I might do a separate video.
And I don't disagree with that, but I do agree. I do agree that Trey Benson is. I mean, he's our RB1. Yeah. Jonathan Brooks does. It's intriguing, but I mean, I would have loved to see him more in like Dallas. I think that would have been really juicy, but
yeah, I like him in Carolina. I just don't love him this year, right? I think you have to wait a year.
Yes, I agree. So, and then really after that, I think there's a lot of handcuffs.
Yeah,
I think that's the next
people
way to
are
put
really
it.
high on Marshawn Lloyd, like really high.
I think that's interesting. I don't. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Like, I don't mind Marshawn Lloyd. He's
I didn't think he was that good before. Exactly.
Yes.
He was not that good before.
He's basically an old man. Well, he's 23. He's going to be 24 when the season starts.
Right.
Like he's a grown ass man, and like compared to Braylon Allen, who is literally a child.
That's true.
If it seems like
that's
so.
True. Dude, what are the Cowboys doing? Trade the Jets for Braylon Allen. You can trade a 5th round pick next year.
Yes.
Who cares?
It's Zeke, baby. Come on, it's Zeke. He's back.
Yeah. So Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks. I think they're both worth an end of the first round pick. Depending on need, I'd be willing to take him at like 1.9, 110. Other than that, I'm taking the receivers over them. But people are putting Jonathan Brooks as like a top 10 running back already. I'm like, dude, you guys are going to be so
Yeah,
disappointed. It is going to be insane.
I think he's good, but I think he would have been the
Not top
third or
10.
fourth
No
best.
way.
I think he would have been the third or fourth best running back in last year's draft. I would have,
Yeah.
I definitely would have had Bijan,
Yeah.
obviously. Like I would have had Gibbs.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Chain would have been
Kendre,
interesting.
Kendre
Yeah,
Miller,
Kendre.
Charbonnet. Like
Yeah,
I would not
yeah,
have, I would have him, I'd probably
yeah.
have him between Miller and Charbonnet.
I think that's fair. So that would be roughly like early
4.
mid second
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So Jonathan Brooks, it's a good landing spot. I do like it. I do think people are because he was a second round pick and he was the first running back off the board. People are going absolutely nuts. I think it's a
That
mistake.
means literally nothing.
Yeah.
That means literally nothing. Like just talk to Clyde
Yeah. Yeah.
with all that.
Exactly.
So
He's good though. It is a good landing
yeah,
spot, but Trey
yes,
Benson's
yeah.
better.
I have been taking a liking to Blake Corum. It makes me want to vomit personally, but I think he could be interesting behind Kyron. If Kyron gets hurt at all,
which is likely.
Which is likely. Saddle Blake Corum up.
Yeah,
It's going to be a wild ride.
And we talked about this with our running back rankings pre-draft, right? And we'll have to do a post-draft update on these eventually, but we still got to get to the wide receivers. We'll get to the pass catchers, throw tight ends in there too. But, we talked about it. We both had Kyron Williams as our running back 6, and we were like, man, this feels bad. Like, he is the scariest number 6 running back, and this is exactly why. Blake Corum, potentially ruins the value there, but Blake Corum could be nothing. He could be everything. We have no idea. And people are very in on Blake Corum. I've seen him go, is pretty much consensus to wide receiver or running back 3 in this class, early second, almost in every rookie draft that I've done. By 2-4, he's gone pretty much every time. But the crazy thing is the next tier guys, the Marshawn Lloyds, the Jalen Wrights. I've seen Will Shipley go pretty high. Ray Davis, Bucky Irvin, all these guys that weren't day 2 draft picks, they're going way too high. They're taking them over a lot of the wide receivers. Your Roman Wilsons, right, your Jalen Polks, your Adonai Mitchells, Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette. Legette is like so cheap. I've seen him take him over Ricky Pearsall.
And I feel this is how we felt about Jalen Waddle.
Right,
back in the day,
right,
and the Trace Sermons of the world and the Michael Carters of the world that we took before him,
right,
for instance.
Yeah.
So, yes, yeah. I think the second round is really deserved for those middling wide receivers that you can take a dart throw on and that could catch gold, or catch fire, honestly. So, I really do like Jalen Wright. Personally, I think he's going to be like I think the spot is interesting.
It's a good landing spot.
Yes, it's interesting. I think he could be. I think him and Achain are going to get 15, 20 touches. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I think it could be lightning in a bottle for both of them.
Yeah.
I do think their values are going to take a hit, but I think they could be really explosive players. Right? Yes, in the short term especially. So, I'm really excited about Bucky Irving. I like Bucky Irving. I know you don't. I'm not huge on Rachaad White. He was, I think, running back 4 or something like this year, and I think Bucky Irving's going to play a part in this offense a little bit personally. But I'm a degenerate and I'm here for it. So, but
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You hear the coach talk about him and he loves him. So there's that potential.
He does. Yeah. There's some of that. And I think another sneaky one is Audric Estime.
Yeah,
in Denver.
I agree. Estime is a 4th rounder, almost universally in your rookie drafts. And
yes,
I've seen Braylon Allen go ahead of Audric Estime, and Braylon Allen was my running back 2 post-combine, pre-draft, and
draft.
He's
Yeah.
rest in peace, dude. He's behind.
Rip.
He is
Rip.
behind Brees Hall. There's no chance. Even if he gets the backup role, what is that worth?
Yeah, there's no chance he's seeing the sunlight ever again. So
At least for fantasy,
yeah,
right? Like he'll have
it's for
spot
fantasy,
starts
yeah,
and
and
everything, but
NFL's different, but
sucks,
yeah,
man.
but I do think Audric Estime is interesting. I think he's more of your like ground and pound kind of running back. I don't think there's a lot of
he's a traditional back. Like he's the big bodied like traditional.
And I do feel that's what Sean Payton has historically wanted in his running backs.
Yeah, he always has one, right?
Yes. It's to be. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. I want to say Pierre Strong. That's not it. I can't remember the guy's name. Save my life. But like he's had, it's these ground and pound guys that
Tim Hightower. Go back to those days.
Right. So I think that could be interesting, and I think they're not really in love with was the running back they drafted a couple years ago.
Kamara, or are you talking Denver?
Denver, yeah.
Oh, now I'm blanking on it. What is his name?
That's so bad.
I'm looking at my rankings here. I have to look at my team. What is his name? I can see his face, but I just
Javonte Williams.
Yes,
Javonte Williams.
Yep, there we go.
There we go.
Dad,
there we go.
Apologize, guys. Brain farts.
Yeah, that was really bad. Apologies there, but
infectious brain. Fart.
But like, yeah. But I don't think Peyton really likes Javonte personally.
I don't know.
It was a really weird.
We got to see.
Yes, it was a really weird. It was a weird year last year because I know he did not want Russell Wilson, and I kind of think he sabotaged a lot of things. But
you pair that with the fact that Javonte was not even supposed to be playing last year, coming off the ACL tear, right? Like he was playing in week 1, man, and everyone's like, man, he's back quick, like really quick, and he didn't look like the same until later in the season. But at that point, all your playoff chances are dead, and what are you really playing for at this point in time? The offensive line is terrible. And so it was just a weird year. By the time that Javonte got really healthy, the team had kind of given up and was mentally checked out. So I want to see what he does this year. But at the same time, Audric Estime has a potential amazing landing spot. Ray Davis is another guy that is kind of interesting. Decent draft capital, and he goes to a good landing spot, in my opinion, that could use him in Buffalo. I've seen Will Shipley go really highly as well, but I don't get this one at all. First off, you have Jalen Hurts. Second off, you have Saquon Barkley. Third, like how many dump offs is Will Shipley even going to be able to get in this offense? Like
at least 3 is my guess.
Jalen Hurts doesn't dump off to the running back in the first place. And then second off, Saquon Barkley is an amazing pass catcher. So why would you ever pull him off the field for Will Shipley? Like this one was another one, kind of like Braylon Allen, where it's like, oh, well, RIP, dude, because we're going to talk about you in like 3 years time. And
maybe
there's going to be like hopefuls that just continue to value you highly, but I'm out. See ya.
Right. Yeah, no. And I agree with that. And then I think the last guy that I like, because I really like the white running backs apparently that can catch passes out of the backfield, is Dylan Laub. I think is how you pronounce.
Oh yeah, I think that's right. Laub.
Yeah. So So he was. I think he was a 6th round pick.
Yeah, he was a late round pick.
He is behind Zamir White. They also have Amir Abdullah. And Alexander Madison, but I think he could be a late 4th, 5th round pick, or even on your waiver wire, that a guy you can take a flyer on and probably cut after this year.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last guy I just want to mention really quickly, combine superstar Isaac Guerendo, who went to San Francisco. He's behind Christian McCaffrey, so it's not amazing, but we've seen at times Christian McCaffrey has gotten banged up, and Elijah Mitchell, who was the only backup. He is consistently banged up. He is like almost never healthy. So I think there's just some potential sneaky playtime for Isaac Guerendo that people aren't factoring in right now. And he's an amazing handcuff or a 4th round pick. So I like that just as a sneaky guy. again, he was a superstar athlete at the combine, just absolutely lit it up. So love to see that. But he's a guy that's going in the 4th round of most rookie drafts, so you can get him pretty cheaply. So he's worth the stab there. And then Kimani Vidal went to the Chargers as like a 6th round pick. This one is like a Twitter fantasy darling, but we'll see, dude. Like, he's got such a rocky road to playtime. Whatever, just stash him if you can. But people on Twitter are so ridiculous, man. They hype the most random people.
I mean, so do we, but that's okay.
Not right? Random. We try and give everybody.
I know.
All right,
a fair chance.
Yeah, let's jump over to the wide receivers here, and we're just gonna do a long video. It's been a while since we've had Dale.
It's been a while. Yep, it has been a while.
We're gonna wear him out.
Yeah. I'm gonna start first things first. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. He's
gonna get 150 completions.
Yeah. receptions. But yes. I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he is going to get all the targets, everything. I think he is a Hall of Famer, but I am counting my chickens before they hatch. Yeah, it's going to be bananas. I am here for it. I am sad that he went out west. I won't be able to see him as much, but
gotta learn how to stream, brother. I can get you all the games for free.
Yeah, that is true. So I feel comfortable in saying that Marvin Harrison is our wide receiver 1.
Yeah,
and then
far.
by far, and then I really like Malik Neighbors.
I'm just gonna spoil this. We're gonna get to our wide receiver rankings.
Yeah,
Marv is gonna be my wide receiver 3, maybe 4.
Baller. I love that.
He's gonna be, dude. I just don't see how he fails. First off, he's got the pedigree. He's got the talent.
I know.
Now he's got the opportunity where, again, he's gonna get 150 targets at least. Like, he's gonna be insane. The only thing that could stop him is if these NFL corners can shut him down, but I just don't see it, man.
He is so silky smooth. It is ridiculous to watch him I'm very fortunate as an Ohio State fan to have watched him, it's the last couple years and really turn into a superstar. I loved watching him every Saturday. And I'm going to be watching him on Sunday now. It's going to be great.
Dude, I did that video months ago about making the case for Marv or Caleb Williams at the 101. And people are like, this isn't going to age well. Marvin Harrison, he's a wide receiver. He'll never be able to take the 101. Dude, this guy's value is insane right now. It is insane.
Yeah. I get it. I get it in super flex leagues where you take Caleb over him. I get it. I very much get it.
Sure.
Yes, I very much get it because the value's there. But in one quarterback, smash Marv.
Yes.
Smash Marv.
Yep.
So number 2, at least for me, is Malik Neighbors. I think he is going to break the trend of giant wide receivers going under. I heard a stat on around the NFL today that I think ever since Daniel Jones has been there, he hasn't had a wide receiver go over 850 yards.
Yeah,
or something like that. So
and I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the starter all year either.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Drew Lock too.
I think Drew Lock is going to be taking over.
I don't disagree with that, and I really think Malik Neighbors is going to have a very sneaky year. I can see him getting close to 1,000 yards. He's going to have a lot of catches. It's going to be interesting post Saquon how this offense is going to look.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really intrigued, and I really think with Daniel Jones having a neck injury, all this and that, I think they're going to really be cautious with him. And I again with you, I wouldn't be shocked if Drew Lock starts because there is a lot of contract stuff with Jones. There's an injury clause he has for 2025. So I think it's going to be definitely interesting with Neighbors, and he is, I'm guessing, our wide receiver 2.
Yeah, I still have him above Rome Odunze.
Dunze. Yep.
I can see the case though. I don't think that a lot of people are dropping Rome Odunze because he went to Chicago and it's he's behind DJ Moore.
I think it's fine.
And
Keenan Allen. I think he's gonna be fine because I feel Keenan probably won't resign next year.
Rome Odunze is just he's JSN. He's Jackson Smith and Jigba from last year. But he's not.
I don't
though.
think that's necessarily true.
The difference is he's coming in with Caleb Williams at the same time. These guys are going through rookie minicamp right now, right? They're going to develop a relationship, these two guys.
And
it's going to translate, Roma Dunze is just going to have to earn the field time. But as soon as he's out there, Caleb is going to look for this guy on the field, probably over Keenan Allen, probably over DJ Moore because of the relationship. In 2 years' time, Roma Dunze probably will be the number one wide receiver on this team over DJ Moore. I like DJ Moore. I think he's the better player right now, but the connection that these two guys has and will have is going to be insane. So I don't get the dropping of Roma Dunze personally, and I am more than happy to get him where I can, but it is what it is. So
yeah.
All right, who's your number 4? This is the big one. This is where I had Jermaine Burton, and I still have Jermaine Burton.
You have Jermaine Burton at 4. I put you very much on the bandwagon, and you are taking it to outer space there, my friend. I feel that's a little. I mean, I like Jermaine Burton. Don't get me wrong. I think he will be the T. Higgins replacement. I think he's very talented. I don't think he's very polished. I think that's the problem. With
you
Jalen
love
Milroe
Jermaine Burton. What are you?
I do love Jermaine Burton. I watched him a lot. He's very good at the 50-50 ball. I think his quarterback last year in Alabama is very, backyard football. I think that's fine, but I think there's a lot of polishing that Jermaine Burton has to do, and I think he will play very well as the wide receiver 3 in this offense this year and emerge as the wide receiver 2 behind Jamar Chase. So,
I think he's more polished than you give him credit for, but that's
he probably is, and that's fine. I really like Ladd McConkey. I'm really excited about that landing spot, and I think he's going to be Justin Herbert's best friend. I think he's going to really take over that slot role, and I'm really excited for that. I know people are hyping up Xavier Worthy. I think that's a good landing spot. But
I think it's a good landing spot, but I don't know what it's going to do for fantasy. That's the problem.
Right. I agree. I personally don't like to take a lot of KC pass catchers, especially wide receivers, because like Patrick Mahomes can throw it to whoever, and he has zero problem with it.
He will spread it out, man. And it's like
he will spread it out everywhere.
Xavier Worthy's super fast, but he plays really soft. And this was his biggest problem in Texas is he just plays so soft. And
it's because he's literally 5 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, he's tiny, dude.
Yes,
and you get press on him, and people will know how to handle him in the NFL. Like this isn't the SEC, right? They're not going to be able to. You're not going to have a game where you're against Bowling Green for a week, and it's just I blew him up for 150 yards because they didn't touch me. It's like. Yeah, right. Good. You should do that.
Yeah. So,
Xavier Worthy is going extremely high. He's kind of the consensus 4 right now.
Yes, and I don't really feel super great about that. I feel really good about Ladd McConkey. Brian Thomas, I don't know what he's gonna do. Like he played second fiddle a lot to Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
So I know that Trevor
Him and Gabe Davis
Lawrence,
are the identical skill set too. Like,
yes. They're very similar. Yes, and I
didn't get that one.
I don't understand what Trent Baalke does. I don't think Trent Baalke knows what he does.
Good old
I think
Jacksonville.
I think for him, he always picks best player available no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's a strategy.
I mean, so do the Raiders. But...
That's true. That is very true. And we'll get to that here in a second. But I don't mind Brian Thomas there. I think he is interesting. I just don't like Trevor Lawrence. I think he took a big step back last year, and I think he's going to take.
I think this will help him though. I do think. I will say. I think that what they've done this year. They got rid of Calvin Ridley. They brought in
Zay Jones.
And they brought in Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas. And kind of last year, Calvin Ridley played the Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas role, and that's not what he's built to do, right? Calvin Ridley is a route runner, and he's not a contested catch type of guy, which Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas can do that role very, very well.
Right.
So I do like what they actually did for this offense, and I think it's going to be better for Trevor Lawrence. I think that you can move Christian Kirk back to slot, and you can, Christian Kirk can go inside, outside. He can play in the slot. He can play in the outside. 2 wide receiver sets if they ever run those. I think they're going to lean a lot more on 11 personnel though, and if you just think about Doug Peterson, all of his time coaching, right? He had the big contested catch guy that he had Alshon Jeffrey in Philly for a long time, right? he just loves that type of guy, and he brought in 2 of them. So I don't know what it means for Gabe Davis, and I don't know what it means for Brian Thomas, but they invested a first-round pick in Brian Thomas, so you got to respect that a little bit. So he's still my number 5. I have Jermaine Burton right ahead of him, but I love Jermaine Burton. I think the talent is insane for Jermaine Burton.
I think he's going to be, and then he has Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. So
yes, and the fact that he's been working with TJ Houshmandzadeh, and that's why the Bengals drafted him.
Yes,
on the whole off, like TJ,
which I love that. I love that.
I agree. That. And TJ Houshmandzadeh has become his life coach. Like that's insane.
Fantastic.
That is so good for him as a human being. And if you can fix his mental side, this dude is a first-round pick. He is a first-round wide receiver in the 3rd. So that's why I like Jermaine Burton. I do get it. He's not a perfect wide receiver, but I do think that from a talent perspective, in the landing spot, I think this is a match made in heaven. So I have him as my number 4. Brian Thomas is my number 5.
I love that. So Keon Coleman is also another one that, so
how do you rank these guys? Where are your tier breaks here? Because that's the biggest thing. So I have Burton and Thomas in their own tier, and then I have a little bit of a mini tier break between like 6 guys here. And that's why for me at the end of the first round, it's so good to just trade back and get more assets. Like literally from the 1-8, the 1-9 to the 2-6, I'm perfectly fine picking in any of those spots because there's so many guys there. Like Ladd McConkey for you, it sounds like he's your number 4.
Yeah, I would say that.
He's my number 11. So like, I just love and it's not because I don't like Ladd. It's just I love these other guys, right? So it's it's just there's so many guys in this tier. So where are your tier breaks here, and like how do you differentiate them?
I would say I kind of bunch all these guys like after the top 3. I feel like I bunch all these guys together. Like I feel personally, like they're all interchangeable. Like I like most of their situations. I like Ladd. I would probably put Burton at like 5 or 6 for me. Mm-hmm. I'm not super in love with Brian Thomas. I think, and then him and Keon Coleman, I kind of put in a tier, like a sub tier where like guys that have good potential and good. Good skills, but good landing spots, but I'm terrified to draft and probably won't.
Right.
In all honesty, and then with like
Worthy's
AD Mitchell
in that tier for me, man.
Yeah. So, AD Mitchell's kind of in that little subset too.
He's down a tier for me.
Yeah. I agree with that. Ricky Pearsall is I guess
I have him as my 9.
Yeah, I think after listening to CJ Stroud, who was a very big supporter of Tank Dell last year.
Yeah.
And I know he knows ball, and
right.
I'm a homer, I'll admit, but like he is, like has a good NFL IQ.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think he's interesting. So
the one thing with Pearsall, the one thing with Pearsall specifically, I've seen him fall a lot, and he's a first round pick, and people are not giving him it's like people don't even care, right? And which is crazy. The amount of people that just do not care, like they haven't raised him up their boards at all. Like I'm taking Jermaine Burton over him, to be honest, but I think Jermaine Burton's a much better talent than Ricky Pearsall. But Ricky Pearsall has the opportunity, and he's very good, right? So he's my number 9, and I might even bump him up over Xavier Worthy. Like Worthy's my 8, Pearsall's my 9. But yeah, I've seen Pearsall fall to the second round. And I just think it's crazy in rookie drafts because you're getting a potential, first round pick where in a year's time, if Brandon Ayuk moves on, Pearsall will play the Ayuk role. But
Absolutely.
if you look at Brock Purdy, right, and what he does well, more than likely they're going to move on from Debo, and you roll with Brandon Ayuk and Pearsall as your 1 and your 2. Like that's a nasty combination, man.
Yes,
and
it is.
I think that Ricky Pearsall has a lot of potential opportunity this year if they move on from either one of those wide receivers before this season, which is still possible, or next year because they would have to either move on from one of them because the cap will not allow them. They are so broke, man. They cannot franchise tag Brandon Ayuk next year. So they have to figure something out. So in a year's time, Ricky Pearsall is going to have a massive opportunity. So I like him a
Right.
lot, but I think he's being a little,
Yeah.
he's sneaky value right now, in my
Yeah, he's
opinion.
being how are you feeling about Roman Wilson?
He's my 6.
Really?
Yeah, I like him a
Spicy,
lot, dude.
spicy. Yeah.
He's my 6. I do have a little bit of tier break between him and Thomas. I think that the talent on Thomas. So my big tier here, my 6 guys is Roman Wilson, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Polk, Lad McConkey. And the biggest thing is,
I like it.
like Roman Wilson, I'm terrified because if Fields comes in, I think it's terrible for Roman Wilson. And I know you like Fields, I like Fields too, but Roman Wilson he's a quarterback's best friend. And Justin Fields has not shown that he needs a best friend in the offense that isn't a contested catch kind of guy, right? And that's what scares me a little bit about Rome. But with Russ will make use of that. Russ will 100% feed Roman Wilson. And it's the Steelers, man. They have precedent of drafting amazing wide receivers. So I'm just going to respect that right there.
Yeah.
And I loved Roman Wilson beforehand. He was my number 7, jumps up to 6 here. I like it a lot of opportunity in year 1. And he's super cheap. Like I've seen him go in the mid-3rd, which is crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of wide receivers. You know, I'm not super high on Polk. You know, I think I know there was a lot of hype with Javon Baker. You know,
I don't
in New
understand
England as well.
Okay, so let me pick your brain on this. Why do you not like Polk? I don't understand why people don't like Polk.
I just feel there's better guys. I don't know.
He was productive. He was productive in college.
He was. I don't disagree with that. You know, I think he's just not piquing my interest very well. I mean, like personally, me, I like Troy Franklin better. You know, I mean, I would probably
so
take
does
a shot
most
at,
everybody out there, like in the draft,
and that's fine, and that's fine, you know. And I don't know, and you know,
I heard
I get the
footballers talk about this. Like Polk was a 2nd-round pick, and
he was, and
they drafted
was
him over a lot of these guys, and they could have taken like they could have traded up in the first round if they really,
and they could have taken yes, I agree, and that does speak a lot to what he could be, and I don't disagree with that.
I just think he's he's a safety blanket for Drake May. And you know, he comes in this wide receiver core sucks, guys. Like New England's wide receiver
it's trash. It's trash.
And I like Javon Baker. I think both of them are going to be potentially very good. But when Demario Douglas is like your number 1 guy, it's not good. And Drake May's coming in as a rookie, and he's going to, again, just like we talked about with Rome and Caleb, he's going to go through training camp with Polk and Baker. And again, Baker's good. His post-draft tweet, man, would crack me up. The bring your popcorn because I make people in wheelchairs stand up.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
That was so dumb. So dumb.
That's gonna either like pay off very well, or it's gonna bite him so badly.
Or poorly. Yes, or go poorly. So,
but I just think that, you know, 2nd-round pick, they could have taken Javon Baker first if they really wanted to. They took Jalen Polk. They're going to scheme this guy open. And again, you know, I think they took him over Lad McConkey, right? Or was Lad McConkey 1 pick in front of him? I can't remember.
I think Lad went right ahead of him.
So I don't know. I just think that Polk is being disrespected a lot, and I like him. I liked him beforehand. I think he was productive, and he's a slot. He's a safety blanket, and I think for a rookie quarterback, that's going to be very good value, especially in rookie drafts when you can get him in the mid-3rd. Again, just like Roman Wilson, you can get him pretty typically in the middle of the 3rd.
Yeah. So. And then some other guys, you know, I do like what Jalen McMillan in Tampa Bay could be. He's interesting.
So here's a couple guys we haven't talked about much: Xavier Legette, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell.
I'm out on Mitchell in Indy.
I don't
like that. I don't like that spot at all. Troy Franklin's interesting. I think he could. Depending if. I know he is. He could be interesting. I don't feel super great about it. And then who was the other guy you mentioned?
Legette.
Leggett.
Leggett?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Leggett, whoever he is.
Xavier, what? There's
Yeah.
multiple
I
pronunciations there.
mean, there is some clout in being a first round pick, stuff
Mhm.
like that. I get it. Um, I don't really think the Panthers necessarily needed to trade up a spot to get him, but they did.
They wanted the
So
5th-year option.
that's true.
Legitimately, they wanted the
So
5th-year option.
I know that. So I out of those three, I would say I like Leggett the best. I would first, yeah, but I'm not super. I mean, I think I'm more intrigued about like Malachi Corley. In that,
I've been in the same tier as
in
all
that,
of these guys, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, I would have him in the same breath as those guys. Like I would be thinking more of that.
the
Yeah,
the only thing I'm afraid of is Xavier Leggett. I just went on this whole rant about Ricky Pearsall was a first-round pick, and we need to respect it a little
yeah,
bit. So was Xavier Leggett, and he had a very, very, very productive year this last year. So, dude, I'm afraid of being wrong on him. I have not gotten a single share of him yet. So, it's going to be
yeah.
interesting to
I
see how
think
that
I
shakes
think
out.
I'm okay being wrong on Leggett.
Yeah, so am I. That's kind of the same bucket as me. Same with Franklin. Like this whole tier: Adonai Mitchell, Troy
Yeah,
Franklin, Javon Baker,
yeah,
um, Xavier
yeah.
Leggett,
Like I'm
Malachi
okay being
Corley. All these guys,
yeah.
they could be elite and they could be very, very good for fantasy football. And I'm willing to be wrong on them.
Yes, yes, I agree. I agree with that. So, I think some late sleepers that you're able to look at.
Luke
I
McCaffrey,
actually that's who I was. That is who I was gonna
nice.
say. I think he could be sneaky. He could be sneaky.
Hmm. If he's got his
I
brother's
could.
hands, man.
Yes, yes,
Like,
and he honestly could sneak up and be the wide receiver two over Dotson. Could.
possibly,
He,
possibly.
he very well could. And then I think another guy is Malik Washington in Miami.
Mm.
I know they just signed Odell, but I can see him being the third wide receiver in that in that
Yeah, I don't know
offense.
how I feel about him. He's fast, so there's that.
Yeah, yes, yeah, yes. It's a track team, man, and I love it.
Yeah.
So,
The one guy, the
and
last
then
guy that I wanted to
yeah,
mention was Tez Walker, who went to Baltimore.
yep, yep.
I think he's kind of sneaky. I know that they just extended. Hey, they extended my boy Bateman. There's life.
I
We're,
think
we're back. We're back, baby.
there's something for him. I don't know if it's life, but
We're so back,
yeah.
man.
So
We're so back.
we're so back. We're so back. Yes. So
Tell all the boys that we're
yeah,
back up.
yeah, yes, yes. I do think it could be interesting, but I don't see a tremendous you know target share go his way.
Yeah, that's the one
But
downside. but,
yes, yes,
but
that is the one side. Yeah, I do think he could be interesting. So
yeah, I mean they definitely need a wide receiver 3 in Baltimore. All he has to do is outplay Nelson Aguilar, which
oh come on,
I mean, I
on
mean,
Nelson Aguilar, first round pick, Calvin, first round pick.
yeah.
Come on.
So yeah, there's a lot of receivers. Again, there's Brendan Rice who went to the Chargers. There's Johnny Wilson who went to the Eagles. It's just there's a ton in this one. I mean,
There's
we're talking
a
about
ton of wide receivers.
25 receivers in this draft class.
Yes, it's
Not all of them are going to be
nuts.
good for fantasy.
Nuts.
So I'm bending on maybe like 7, 8 of them be fantasy relevant,
Of
and that's
yeah,
about it.
and I think that's actually fantastic for any rookie draft
Oh
to
my
have that
gosh,
many.
yes. Yeah.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
Dude, wide receivers are becoming so replaceable. It's insane.
Yes, it's insane.
All
All
right,
right,
let's
on
talk on
la-
tight ends.
last but not
Tacos.
least, tight ends. Like we need to tighten this up or
Yep.
something.
All right,
But
let's roll through these.
yeah, yeah,
Brock Bowers goes
yeah.
to Vegas.
Obviously,
What are your
yes,
thoughts on that?
yes, yes. I don't like it. I don't
I
like it.
don't,
I
I don't like it.
I think it's I mean, I know he's still gonna go in super flex. He's still gonna go probably 107, 108. Like
That's
he's
pretty
he's gonna
much.
go in that
Yep.
range.
Yep. That's where I've seen
Yeah,
him.
yeah, he's gonna go in that range, and that's fine. I would have taken him higher if he would have went somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'm just I don't think it's gonna be interesting what they do with him and
I've heard they're going to
Michael
go
Mayer.
more 12 personnel,
Yes, yes,
and Bowers is going to
yes,
be more the move tight end, like the slot receiver,
yes,
essentially for this offense.
yes.
Which
That's kind of what I was thinking too. And then
with
Mayer be
Minshew,
the
that's not bad.
in line. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that could be interesting. And I know people think Michael Mayer's dead. He's not dead yet.
I think I think his fantasy value is kind of dead. to be honest with you.
Yes,
Like, I just don't see
I
him.
agree. Yeah,
You know, I could see games where Brock Bowers has 7 targets and games where Mayer has 5 or, you know,
yeah.
like that's going to be kind of how it's going to go. And unfortunately, that's
That's not
stupid,
super
but
great.
not great.
It's stupid. Yes. So let's move on from that and us feeling a little sad about Brock Bowers, but
He's still going to be good for
he's
fantasy football.
he's still
He's
gonna
still
be
going to be
great.
good.
He's
Not
still
going to
gonna be
be.
good. Yes.
He's not going to be as good as he could have been somewhere else. Number
Yes.
2, I think we're probably going to be pretty universal here with Ben Sennett, who went to Washington. Yep. I think the opportunity there is just absolutely massive. You look at how Cliff Kingsbury uses the tight end position and how they pepper him. I know Zach Ertz is there on a 1-year deal.
I don't care. Old man Zach Ertz, get out the way.
Ben Sennett, you know, you hear all these podcasts right now doing like, who's this year's Puka Nacua? Who's this year's CJ Stroud? Yeah. Ben Sennett legitimately might be this year's Sam Laporta, where he just has a million targets, because I've been saying for years that Washington needs a tight end. You know, I was hoping that they'd go for like Michael Mayer last year, right? And they didn't, but I've been hoping that instead they got that itty bitty tiny corner who's probably not even going to be a starter this year, which was, who could have predicted that Forbes, one? Yeah. Could have gotten Michael Mayer last year, but instead they got Ben Sennett this year. Again, I think it's a great landing spot.
Yes,
and
yes, I do. I agree.
I talked about this in my solo video. I would rather have Ben Sennett at cost than Brock Bowers.
That's fair. I can
just because of the cost. Like, Brock Bowers is still a top 10 pick in Superflex leagues, and I don't want to pay that, man. Like, I just don't want to pay that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel great.
Versus a mid-second for Sennett, like, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, but after those two, it gets pretty murky. I'm not super in love with Jatavian Sanders.
In Carolina, again, there's opportunity. I
know that there is. I think the problem that I have with him is that he was schemed wide open so much in Texas that's not going to happen very often in the NFL.
Candidate for me.
He's not.
The one thing I will say about Carolina really quickly, I think that they've done an amazing job at putting weapons around Bryce Young this year. I mean, you look at everything they've done. Yes. They traded for Deontay Johnson. They still have Adam Thielen. They have Jonathan Mingo, who they drafted in the second last year. They brought in Xavier Legette as well. Like, they brought in Jonathan Brooks. They brought in Jatavian Sanders. Like, they have loaded this offense up, which I agree. I like it. Bryce Young has limited excuses now, but you know, I think that it's going to be a very good year for Bryce Young, and I think he's on the up. So it all spells good things for him.
So and then after that, you know, like there's,
I like Cade Stover a lot and Jared Wiley. These are like two of my favorite.
Yes. Cade Stover goes to the Houston Texans to play with his college teammate.
Yeah.
Stroud.
He was a 4th-round pick, right?
Yes, he was a 4th-round pick.
Decent draft capital.
I actually, a lot of tight ends went in the 4th round, which I thought was very interesting.
Eric All,
there were so many.
Theo Johnson,
Eric All,
Jared Wiley.
Yes.
So Eric All went to the Bengals. Was a lot of guy. Theo Johnson went to the Giants. Jared Wiley went to the Chiefs. Very great landing spots for all of them too. Like, I'm just like, dang, this is actually really good.
Yeah. So
and Jatavian Sanders,
think
right?
Yeah.
Or was he a 3rd-round pick? I don't remember.
I think he was.
That sounds right.
101, yeah. Well, I think it was the top of the 4th.
Oh yeah, was top of the 4th. Let's go.
Yeah.
All these 4th-round tight ends.
Yeah, there was. I think there was 4 or 5 that went like in a 10 pick range. It was nuts. It was nuts. So
just like the quarterbacks.
So yeah. I mean, I love Cade Stover. I think he's mini Gronk. You know, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Theo Johnson could be interesting. He's another Penn State tight end that's this athletic freak. Big. Yeah. He's an athletic freak, but you know, I don't know how that's going to translate to the NFL. Eric All is going to be interesting. You know, I don't really know who the starting tight end for the Bengals is.
Eric All.
It might. Yeah, it's going to be Eric. Yeah, I think it was Irv Smith last year. It will not be Irv Smith.
It was.
Yeah, it will not be Irv Smith. And then Jared, I do agree with you. Jared Wiley is very interesting.
Dude, he's a freak of nature, man. He was very productive.
Yes. Yeah, he's going to be very interesting because I think Kelsey's days are going to be numbered soon.
I mean, they just signed him to a 2-year contract. extensions.
Yeah. So I think that means Jared Wiley has 2 years to figure it out. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Really quickly on Theo Johnson, you know, you're talking about him. He is. All these guys are basically combine studs. They all blew out their RAS score, relative athletic scores are nuts from the combine. They're pretty productive in college for the most part. 4 tight ends in college, which are rarely productive like Brock Bowers. But Theo Johnson is big. And you look at Malik Neighbors, and he's still smaller. He's more prototypical size for wide receiver. But you look at the other receiving options on this team, and the Giants, you know, they had Darren Waller, who was a giant in that receiving room. Now it's going to be Theo Johnson. And I think that there is some potential there just because of the size aspect. Like, he's going to be a big dude, and I think he can contribute potentially early on. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but in 2 years, 3 years' time, I think that he's another name to just keep on your list. So,
yep, absolutely.
All right, guys, that is a lot of rookies, mostly wide receivers, but a lot of guys to talk about.
Yes.
And it's a fun class. It is a very, very fun class. Again, if you had picks and your rookie drafts are already going, or they're going on now, or they're about to start, lots to look forward. And my best advice is trade back as much as you can and just get as many picks as possible, because drafting these guys is a lot of fun. And, you know, getting multiples of, you know, we're just debating Roman Wilson, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, Ricky Pearsall. You can get 3 of those guys because you traded back like 4 spots, and you picked up an extra second, and you had your other second. Like, it feels really good. So it's a very good draft class, especially to be getting 2nd-round picks and even 3rd-round picks in Superflex. Like, getting high-end 3rd-round picks where you can get Roman Wilson, you can get Jalen Polk, you can get Jermaine Burton almost universally in the early 3rd round. Feels really good. So my advice is trade back and just try and accumulate as many 2nds and 3rds as you can. Don't invest in the running backs outside of the top 2, and just grab who you want. But somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong, and hopefully we're on the right end here more often than not. So what are any last thoughts on this rookie draft?
I think I've said everything that needs to be said.
You said a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So I think what I'm going to do is later on this week, I'm going to put out an Arizona Cardinals breakdown and why I love all the receiving options. I got to make sure I send all these trades out for all these players before that video, just so that I don't screw myself. But, you know, the Cardinals, man, they're going to be, there's so much opportunity for all these pass catchers. So I'll put that out later this week. Dale will probably not be on that one. He's got to finish up his play, and then he's a free man again. So hopefully next week we'll have him back full time. And I'm excited. We'll be rolling here. If you guys have any sound bites too, we were talking about this. We can do some sound bites. Send me some ideas. If you guys have some that you would like us to start incorporating, I think there's some good spots where we could add some sound bites, and we can start getting some of that involved in this as well. So if you guys have any ideas, throw them out there. We'd love to hear them. Comment down below with your favorite sound bites that you'd like us to add to the podcast. And again, subscribe to the channel. You'll hear all our content. Like the video. Comment down below with your favorite sound bites, and follow us on Twitter. That's pretty much it. So, Dale, any last thoughts?
Send it on home.
All right. Well, it's been fun. Miss you guys. We'll be cranking out the videos from here on out. So until next time, thank you guys so much for listening, and good night.
And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?